Have you ever laid awake at night replaying a moment you wish you could change? The words you didn't say, the opportunity you didn't take, the relationship you ruined, or the one you walked away from too soon. That quiet ache that hits you when you think about the past. That's regret. It's one of the most complex emotions the human brain can create. Part pain, part reflection, part punishment. And yet hidden beneath that discomfort is one of the most powerful psychological forces in your life. Regret is the mind's way of measuring what could have been. It's a clash between your present self and your past self. A mental movie where you're both the critic and the main character. The brain replays the scenario over and over because it's trying to fix something that can't be fixed. It's not just emotional torture, it's an evolutionary survival mechanism. Humans evolved to analyze mistakes so we could avoid repeating them. But the same mechanism that once kept us safe from danger now keeps us trapped in mental loops of what if. Guess, inside the brain. Regret activates the orbitofrontal cortex, the region responsible for decision-making and evaluating outcomes. When you regret something, this part of your brain compares what actually happened with what could have happened. That gap between reality and possibility creates emotional pain. It's your brain saying, you could have done better. But here's the twist. Your mind doesn't stop there. It keeps analyzing the past because it believes on some level that it can still change it. That's why regret feels like an open wound. It's an emotional problem your logical mind keeps trying to solve psychologically. Regret can take two main forms: action regrets and inaction regrets. Action regrets come from the things you did, the harsh words, the impulsive decisions, the bad choices. These are painful, but usually fade over time. The brain tends to forgive itself for things it did wrong because there's evidence, there was action, less in a closure. But inaction regrets, the things you didn't do, they last much longer. They haunt you because there's no evidence, no closure, no proof of what might have happened. The mind fills in those blanks with idealized outcomes, often far better than reality would have been. That's why people on their deathbeds rarely say, "I regret trying too much." They say, "I regret not trying enough." But here's the darker side of regret. It can become addictive. The brain, especially when it's emotionally underdeveloped or trapped in guilt, starts using regret as a form of self-punishment. It gives the illusion of control. If I keep replaying it, maybe I can undo it. But that loop only deepens feelings of shame and helplessness. The pain of regret then becomes familiar, and in a strange way, comforting. Because as long as you're focusing on what you did wrong, you don't have to face what's next. Regret freezes growth. What makes regret even more powerful is its link to identity. The more important the decision feels to who you are, the deeper the regret cuts. If you see yourself as someone who values loyalty, and you betrayed a friend, that regret attacks your self-image. It's not just "I made a mistake," it's "I'm not who I thought I was." That identity crisis can trigger depression, anxiety, and even self-loathing. But the truth is, regret doesn't mean you're broken. It means your conscience is awake. The reason regret hurts so much is because it holds a mirror to your growth. You only regret things differently once you've evolved beyond the version of yourself who made that choice. In other words, the very fact that you feel regret proves you've grown. The person you are now wouldn't do what the person back then did, and that's progress. Regret is a sign of awareness. It's not failure. But there's a psychological trick hidden inside that realization. Your brain exaggerates. It's the perfect version of what could have been. It idealizes the road not taken. That's called counterfactual thinking, imagining alternate realities where everything worked out perfectly. The problem is, your mind rarely imagines the bad outcomes that could have happened too. It only compares your real life to a fantasy, which makes your actual life feel worse than it really is. It's an unfair comparison, one that traps millions of people in endless self-blame. So how do you free yourself from regret? The key is integration, not erasing the past, but folding it into your story. Regret loses its power when you stop fighting it and start learning from it. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Every regret carries a message about your values, your limits, your unmet needs. The goal isn't to forget the mistake, but to use it as emotional data. Once you extract the lesson, the regret transforms from punishment to wisdom. And then comes the hardest part: forgiveness. Not just of others, but of yourself. Self-forgiveness isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's about acknowledging you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. Your past self didn't have the information, emotional maturity, or clarity you have now. You can't expect an old version of you to make today's decisions. When you finally accept that, the emotional grip of regret begins to release. Interestingly, research shows that transforming regret into growth activates the medial prefrontal cortex, a brain region linked with emotional regulation and empathy. That means when you consciously reframe regret, you're literally rewiring your brain for healing. You're teaching your mind to see pain as guidance, it's not as a life sentence. Eventually you realize that regret isn't a curse, it's a compass. It points you toward what matters most. You regret the things that reveal your deepest values: honesty, love, courage, meaning. So instead of running from regret, listen to it. It's your inner self saying, "Next time, do it differently." That's not shame, that's wisdom. And maybe that's the secret psychology of regret. It's not there to haunt you, but to evolve you. It's your mind's way of ensuring you never live the same mistake twice. The pain is real, but so is the transformation. Regret is not a dead end. It's a doorway, one that leads from guilt to growth, from self-blame to self-awareness. So the next time your mind starts replaying a painful memory, take a breath and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Then use that answer to live better. Because the truth is, you can't rewrite your past, but you can absolutely redefine what it means. If this breakdown of human psychology spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe to Psyche Edge here. We explore the emotional and behavioral science behind everyday life, the invisible patterns, hidden motives, and mental habits that shape who we are. Stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and remember, regret is just your past asking you to create a wiser future.